Big thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. More on them later.
Ahoy there! Daniel and Colin here, hiking through the Arctic. Say hi, Colin.
Hello.
The cool thing about Washington State is even though it's June, we're still able to find snow. We came up here to Paradise Ranger Station at Mount Rainier, and we got the prototype Snowcat, and we're gonna do a little testing.
So this prototype is working really well. Here's a look back at all the iterations that it took to get here. Before we dive into prototyping, let's cover the scope of this project. Initially, the goal was to make injection molded tracks that Kickstarter backers would be able to purchase at cost in return for donating towards the mold. Then, I designed another 3D printed Snowcat, similar to my first one, that people could use with the new and improved tracks. Since we exceeded the funding goal by over 400%, I expanded the project to be a full Snowcat kit that includes the chassis and drivetrain components. Kickstarter backers will be able to purchase it all at cost. This kit will include all of the hardware and motors needed to build the vehicle, but there are still a lot of 3D printed components that they will need to print themselves. They will also still have the option to buy the tracks alone if they want. So now let's rewind to mid-January when I had just tested some MJF printed prototype track links with a power drill. They seemed to work pretty well, so I green-lighted the injection mold creation and got to work designing the Snowcat chassis and drivetrain. My goal was to fit the entire drivetrain in between the tracks so that it can drive upside down. This way, it's a much more versatile vehicle. Some people can use it as a multi-purpose robotics platform, and others can 3D print a Snowcat body that attaches to the top for a more scale model. In order to fit the whole gearbox inside the tracks, it needs to be very compact. My first attempt was a 2-stage belt drive reduction, where the motor and middle stage were able to slide back and forth. This would allow uniform belt tensioning by pulling the motor back with a spring. Ultimately, it didn't work out because I couldn't fit in a big enough reduction ratio, and the belts were kind of finicky. It probably would have been pretty quiet though if it did work out. Next, I tried a fully 3D printed gearbox. It was a 3-stage reduction, and even the spur gears were 3D printed. This worked fine on my first snow tank that used a smaller motor, but the 4240 600 kV motors I'm using here for this version are just too powerful. The spur gear would melt at high speeds, and it was super noisy.
That's going to be a problem. The gears welded themselves together.
At this time, I was doing a lot of RPM testing to determine what gear ratio I would need. Simultaneously, the mold company was hard at work. These are copper positives that were used for electrode machining of the steel mold. This is also referred to as EDM machining. At this point, I still had quite a bit of prototyping to do, so I got the new Creality CR10 Smart 3D printer. It's got some big improvements over my old CR10, including a touchscreen, auto bed leveling, Wi-Fi connectivity, dual Z-axis lead screws, and most importantly, a car bumper inspired design. I got it all assembled and started printing the next round of prototypes. The third iteration of the drivetrain design is the latest. It's a 2-stage reduction with a machined gear set on the first stage and a 3D printed gear set on the second stage. The total reduction ratio is 17.6 to 1. This design uses 15mm aluminum tubes as the front and back axles. I was able to prototype these on the lathe at FreeFly. It uses 12mm aluminum rods as the mid-wheel axles. The body shell will be vacuum formed out of polycarbonate or PETG. Not sure which I'll use yet. This will act as a durable frame and make it pretty easy to seal the vehicle so that it's water resistant. All the internal 3D printed frame components are bolted together with M3 heat stake inserts. These are pretty easy to install with just a normal soldering iron. I'm planning on making a rubber seal that will go in between the two shell halves. Here's a little prototype section of it that I printed out of TPU. In late April, I got the first injection molded track samples in. These were cool to see, but they had a few issues with warping and hole alignment. They also had bronze bushings with a smooth outer diameter that ended up being too difficult to fixture during the injection molding process. In late May, I got the second set of samples, which had all these problems fixed. For this batch, I designed a new knurled bushing that is easier to mold in place and probably more robust overall. These are T0 samples, which means the mold has not yet been textured, so they're not cosmetically representative of the final product. Each track link with hardware weighs 40 grams. I got 104 pieces of this same batch, just enough to build up one set of tracks to test on the prototype. After assembling them, I ran into another hole alignment issue which causes the full track to be slightly twisted. The injection molding company is working to fix this now, but it doesn't seem to affect functionality at all on the prototype. After assembling the tracks, I finally had everything I needed to assemble the very first working prototype. The center roller wheels are printed with TPU, which allows them to flex a little bit. It kind of gives the vehicle a little bit of suspension. An elaborate suspension system would be cool, but it's pretty unnecessary for driving in soft snow, which is what this vehicle is designed for, and it would make the parts count go up significantly. Here are some clips of the very first test drive.
Bet your tank won't be able to drift, Banj, huh? Banji's been saying that he's gonna build a better tank than me, and that I'm a bad tank builder.
I did say you were a bad tank builder. I don't remember that first part though.
I haven't seen your tank yet, Banj.
Alright, dude.
Mine's drifting donuts around the driveway. Bust it out, come on. Oh no. I printed one of these wheels with a single line wall thickness just as a test print, and then I ended up using it on the prototype. So that's probably what failed. Yep, that's the single line one. See, it's like not a very strong part. I can crush it with my hands. Oh, yeah, so that's what failed. False alarm. Thought the track broke, but it didn't. These things are super robust, super diesel. These things are bulletproof. What do you think, Banj? First impressions of the new track.
Jesus Christ, it's actually kind of heavy.
Now we're gonna go get some shots with the FreeFly wave camera. We're transcoding the FreeFly wave footage here with this nice new application that was written by none other than the Banji man himself. Nice job, Banj.
Thanks, Dan.
It's pretty sick.
The first test drive exposed a few issues that needed to be fixed. First, one of the nylon gears stripped out.
Damn.
I think this was primarily due to poor gear meshing, and the poor gear meshing was caused by an oversized hole on the main gear that made it fit too loosely on the shaft. To fix this on the prototype, I filed out the center of one of the track bushings to use it as a spacer. This held the gear more tightly on the shaft. To fix potential gear meshing problems in the long run, I gave the motor mount 1mm of adjustability. I also have steel prototype gears on order. Switching from nylon to steel on the 93 tooth gear would increase cost by $11.36 per vehicle. Think it's worth it? I'm not sure yet, but I'll keep on testing to see how long the nylon gears last. The next issue was that the 3D printed drive gears and drive wheels were getting kinda loose on their shafts. My original plan was to have screws go through holes in the 3D printed parts and thread into the tapped holes on the shafts. I think this could potentially work if the alignment was right, but ultimately it's not quite as robust as I was hoping for. The next version will use a machined aluminum shaft hub that's prototyped in orange PLA here, that will clamp onto the shaft and then fit into the drive wheel and gear. It will be held in place by mounting holes that go through the back. Even the PLA prototype is probably durable enough for a test drive, so I think the aluminum version would be super robust. Not only will this vehicle be great for exploring the snowy mountains, but it can also be used as a security patrol rover to keep your home safe. Turns out, this use case was a bit too risky for my Achilles tendons, so I switched to SimpliSafe instead. SimpliSafe is a new age home security system that is easy to use and super effective. You just order it online or over the phone, and it's delivered right to your home. Setup is super easy and takes under an hour. Just follow the simple step-by-step instructions. They offer sensors to cover every window, room, and door, plus lots of great extras like water sensors, temperature sensors, and HD cameras. It's all really easy to use, and you get around-the-clock protection for just 50 cents a day, with no contracts. Their monitoring service will immediately be alerted if anything goes wrong, and if a threat is detected, they will call the police or fire department. I've had this system installed in my home for months, and I can tell you it definitely works. Visit simplysafe.com/rctestflight to learn more. Now back to the video. I just put a 6-cell battery in it. All the previous tests were done with a 4-cell battery, so we're gonna see how fast it'll go now. And also, I just got the new Insta360 One X2 camera, so I mounted that up and we're gonna see how it looks. So check this out. I was actually just one injection molded track link short from being able to complete this prototype vehicle. So this one link right here is MJF printed. It's still nylon like the injection molded links, but it doesn't have any glass fiber in it. You can see just by looking at the top that it's a lot more beat up than the injection molded links. It's cool to be able to see how much more durable the injection molded plastic is. Now back to Mount Rainier for some more snow testing.
So the main purpose of today's test is to verify that these tracks work well in the snow. A lot of the times with other track designs that I've tested, there will be problems with snow getting jammed up in the tracks and then the tracks fall off. But we came up here to make sure that everything runs smoothly and the snow gets pushed through the holes in the tracks where the gear teeth engage with them. I think the snow consistency today is going to be a great test because it kind of is really warm and dense and it's sticky, so it would like jam up tracks. So it'll be a good like worst case scenario test to see if these work well or not.
The snowcat is driving in the snow. The snowcat is driving in the snow. Kickstarter funded brand new tracks. The old ones got too many cracks. The snowcat is driving in the snow. New tracks are working very well. They're beefy, macho, strong, robust as hell. Glass-filled nylon is injection molded and it's stronger than Hulk Hogan. New tracks are working very well. Daniel wants you to know he is working tirelessly to make this product as robust as possible. 3D printed gears were melting down. Drive belts could not get enough reduction. Nylon gears were stripping out. Daniel took a break and he left town. A vacuum formed chassis in the works. In the mind of Daniel it still lurks. When the design is finalized, production will be maximized, and onward the Snowcat project will lurch.
It's a really steep hill.
Let's pause right there. See how it can't go up the hill? Yep, this performance is unacceptable. I thought about this problem during the initial track design and included these little holes that we can melt steel spikes into. This should help quite a bit in icy conditions. This rod is too small, but you get the idea. Back to the drive.
It looks like we've got quite a bit of snow building up in between the tracks, and it's super dense snow, but it's not building up where the tracks engage with the drive wheels, so that's all that really matters.
More like rock bouncing.
So this is why snow tracks are generally not the best for non-snowy conditions, because you get stuff stuck in all these little slits. Like that just happened again. Look at that. This stick is just like caught right in that slit. Gotta get it out of there. There we go. Oh. So now I'm on a walk and we'll talk to you about some additional things. I spent a lot of time trying to get the gear ratio right, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It would really complicate things mechanically if I were to offer different gear ratio versions. So instead I thought it might be more practical to offer different motor KVs for people who wanted more torque or less speed or more speed or whatever. This version that I was testing today was 600 kV. And I have samples of 300 kV motors also, so people could have that option. That would give you just more torque and less speed. Another thing is, during this video I showed it driving on not snow surfaces quite a bit, but it is totally designed for soft snow. There's no suspension on it, and that's really the main reason why it doesn't do super well on bumpy surfaces. These tracks are really designed for snow. You saw the clip of how the vines or stems or whatever can kind of get caught in between the track links. But it would totally be possible to trim the ends off the tracks and make them narrower, and then they wouldn't get caught on things, and it could be really good for off-road use on not snowy surfaces. So that could be a project for the future. We'll see, not sure. Oh yeah, body options. So this kit is gonna be like a base platform that people can take and do whatever they want with. I think it would be really cool to design a Snowcat body that would go on top of this vehicle, and then it would be more like a scale Snowcat. But I probably won't take the time to do that myself, so I kind of want to like crowdsource that part. If you're potentially interested in designing bodies for this thing, check the Kickstarter. Oh, wow. Look, I found a book. I found multiple books. Weird. Love, light, and night photography. Low light and night photography. What the heck? That'd be a good coffee table book. The Heart of the Dragon. Someone's driver's license. What the hell happened here? I feel like I'm gonna find a dead body in a sec. So if you might be interested in designing a body for this vehicle, follow along on the Kickstarter page. I'll periodically be posting updates, and eventually I'll probably post the dimensions of the top vacuum formed chassis on there so that people have dimensions and they can build a body that will just bolt right on top. That'll be fun, and I think people will probably come up with some cool stuff, like not just traditional Snowcat designs, but like all sorts of vehicles and weird things. So I'll probably then choose my favorite few bodies and print them out to use in the final video. As far as the timeline goes, I'm assuming these kits will probably be ready for people to start purchasing in maybe like, I want to say 2 to 3 months. The prototyping process is pretty slow. It takes a while to get samples back from the suppliers, but the design is pretty mature, and the most time-consuming part of the process is over, which is getting the injection molded tracks made. So it shouldn't be too much longer now. Yeah, it'll probably be like late summer when this thing launches, which is just in time for a Snowcat, you know? It's gonna be nice and hot, no snow anywhere in sight, but hey, that's kind of just the way it goes. That's it for this video. Big thanks to all the Kickstarter backers who donated money towards the mold cost and made all this possible. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.